We all know the epic rivalries that have defined WWE history. The clashes of icons that have kept us on the edge of our seats. We've seen titans battle for championships, friendships shatter over betrayal, and sworn enemies fight until they could barely stand. But what if the most intense battles weren't actually in the script? What if the deepest hatred wasn't just for the cameras? While the cameras were rolling, these superstars were presented as rivals. But the real story is what happened when the cameras stopped. Behind the curtain and in their personal lives, some of the most celebrated performers in this business genuinely despise one another. Their on-screen animosity was just the tip of the iceberg. Today, we're pulling back that curtain. We're exposing the true stories and legitimate conflicts behind 10 of the most infamous real-life rivalries in wrestling history. These aren't just storylines. These are tales of professional jealousy, personal betrayals, and physical altercations that the company didn't always want you to see. Forget what you saw on Monday Night Raw. This is the truth. Before we reveal our first entry, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our deep dives into the world of professional wrestling. Now let's get into it. Number 10, Booker T and Corey Graves. We begin our countdown with a modern example that proves real-life tension in WWE isn't just a thing of the past. It's a conflict that simmered not in the ring, but at the commentary desk. I'm talking about the uncomfortable beef between two-time Hall of Famer Booker T and commentator Corey Graves. For a while, Booker T was a staple of the Monday Night Raw commentary team. Then suddenly he was gone, replaced and shuffled over to kickoff show panels. Fans were confused, but the story soon began to unfold, primarily through podcasts. The trouble seemed to start when Corey Graves, known for his snarky commentary style, began making subtle jabs and criticisms directed at Booker T on air. The tension felt less like a playful rivalry and more like genuine professional disrespect. Booker T, never one to hold back, eventually fired back on his own radio show. He didn't just hint at a problem, he stated it plainly. Booker claimed that Corey Graves was the direct reason he was no longer on the Raw commentary team, feeling Graves had politicked his way into a better position at his expense. The anger from Booker felt incredibly real. He went so far as to challenge Graves to a physical confrontation, famously declaring, "If I saw him, I would have probably broke his neck. I would have beat him down." For weeks, the wrestling world buzzed, wondering if they were witnessing a legitimate feud spiral out of control. Eventually, the two had a face-to-face on Booker's podcast, where they claimed the whole thing was a work, an elaborate angle to generate buzz. While the animosity, particularly from Booker's side, felt too personal to be a simple fabrication, both men publicly smoothed things over. Whether it was a masterful publicity stunt or a genuine workplace conflict they were later forced to resolve, the saga serves as a potent reminder that in the high-stakes world of WWE, egos can clash anywhere. Number 9, Matt Riddle and Roman Reigns. In modern WWE, one man stands as the undisputed locker room leader, the tribal chief, Roman Reigns. In a world where respect and hierarchy are paramount, you don't publicly disrespect the man at the head of the table. It's a lesson that former superstar Matt Riddle learned the hard way. Riddle, with his laid-back bro persona and legitimate MMA background, has never been shy about speaking his mind. But in 2021, his outspoken nature created a serious issue with the biggest star in the company. During an interview, Riddle made comments that sent shockwaves through the locker room. When asked about Roman Reigns, Riddle dismissed his prowess, stating, "You're related to The Rock. Shut up. Like, I'm not impressed. I can beat you up in a real fight. So shut your mouth." He also claimed that Reigns wasn't a needle mover. To an outsider, it might sound like typical wrestling trash talk, but to Roman Reigns and WWE management, it was seen as a massive sign of disrespect. The fallout was immediate. Riddle later recounted that he received a text from Reigns that simply read, "Not cool, dude." Realizing he'd crossed a line, a panicked Riddle drafted a long apology. He even showed it to his tag team partner at the time, Randy Orton, for advice. Orton, knowing the landscape of the WWE locker room, reportedly told him the apology was all wrong, rewrote it to be shorter and more to the point, and had Riddle send that instead. Even with Orton's help, the damage was done. Reports from that time indicate there was legitimate backstage heat on Riddle for his comments. Former WWE host Matt Camp even recalled an incident where Riddle, who was an in-studio guest on WWE's The Bump, was purposefully kept off the set until a satellite appearance by Reigns was completely finished, just to avoid any interaction. Though they did eventually work together in the ring, a major singles program between them never happened. Riddle's comments serve as a textbook example of how not to navigate the political landscape of WWE. Number 8. JBL and the Blue Meanie. There are backstage bullies in every walk of life, and for years, whispers in the wrestling world suggested that John Bradshaw Layfield, or JBL, was one of them. Known for his tough, millionaire Texan persona, JBL's real-life reputation was that of a notorious locker room hazer. For the most part, his actions remained behind the curtain, but at the 2005 ECW One Night Stand pay-per-view, his alleged bullying boiled over into a very real and very public assault. The target was the Blue Meanie, a beloved ECW original. Leading up to the event, Meanie had made comments in interviews calling JBL a bully. JBL, a powerful figure on the SmackDown roster, took immense offense. He decided to get his receipt not backstage, but in the middle of the ring during the show's chaotic finale, which featured a massive brawl between ECW originals and an invading force of WWE superstars. In the chaos, JBL sought out the Blue Meanie. What happened next was not a work. JBL began throwing legitimate, stiff punches at Meanie's head, connecting with brutal force. In seconds, Meanie was a bloody mess, his face busted open. The attack was so unprofessional that WWE management was reportedly furious. Meanie's friend Stevie Richards was livid, and the incident cast a dark shadow over an otherwise celebrated event. In the aftermath, JBL and Meanie had a conversation backstage. Meanie recalled JBL giving him an ultimatum. "Hey, we can either fight or we can make money." Choosing the latter, WWE quickly turned the real-life assault into a short storyline. They signed Meanie to a temporary contract, and on an episode of SmackDown, he was booked to get his revenge. The Blue Meanie scored an upset victory over JBL, thanks to an assist from Batista and a truly vengeful, incredibly stiff chair shot from Stevie Richards. A clear receipt for the disrespect at One Night Stand. Number 7. Chris Jericho and Triple H professional jealousy is a powerful force, and in the Shark Tank of late 90s and early 2000s WWE, two of the fastest rising stars were on a collision course. When Chris Jericho jumped from WCW to WWE in 1999, he arrived with a massive buzz. He was charismatic, incredible on the mic, and a genius in the ring. But he was also an outsider, and one of the most powerful figures in the locker room, Triple H, seemingly didn't like this new player on his turf. At the time, Triple H was ascending to the main event scene, and Jericho's arrival represented competition. According to Jericho and various reports, Triple H was not a fan and made life difficult for the newcomer. In his books, Jericho has recounted how Triple H would allegedly mock him backstage and downplay his talent to others, including Vince McMahon. There was a sense that Triple H and his friend Shawn Michaels tried to hold Jericho down, a classic case of backstage politics. This real-life animosity, however, created an undeniable chemistry when they worked together in the ring. Their matches were filled with an aggression that felt deeply personal because, on some level, it was. Their feud over the undisputed championship heading into WrestleMania X8 is a prime example. Despite Jericho being the champion, the entire build-up focused on Triple H's return from injury, leaving Jericho to feel like a complete afterthought. Over the years, as both men matured and their roles evolved, the ice between them thawed. Jericho has stated that they are now friends and can look back and laugh about their old rivalry, chalking it up to two ambitious guys vying for the same top spot. But for a long time, the dislike was very real, a battle for position that defined the careers of two of the most important figures of their generation. Number 6. Chris Jericho and Goldberg. Chris Jericho makes his second appearance on our list, and this time, the animosity escalated from political maneuvering to a full-blown physical fight. Jericho's issues with Bill Goldberg dated back to their time in WCW. While Goldberg was on his legendary undefeated streak, Jericho, then a mid-carder, famously started a one-sided feud with him. It was comedic genius, but Goldberg reportedly didn't appreciate it and refused to work a match with Jericho, seeing it as beneath him. The tension simmered for years. When Goldberg finally arrived in WWE in 2003, Jericho was a former undisputed champion and an established main eventer. The power dynamic had shifted, but the old animosity hadn't. According to Jericho's autobiography, on Goldberg's very first night on Raw, he was backstage bad-mouthing Jericho. Word got back to Jericho, and he decided to confront the bigger man. The confrontation quickly turned physical. Goldberg allegedly put his hand on Jericho's throat, and Jericho, despite the massive size difference, fired back. He took Goldberg down with a front face lock, a legitimate wrestling hold. The scuffle was quickly broken up, but the consensus from those who witnessed it was clear. The smaller Jericho had gotten the better of the supposedly unbeatable Goldberg. Fellow wrestler Maven later said, "That was the night the Goldberg myth died, and the Jericho myth was born." The fight, ironically, cleared the air. After the incident, the two men hashed it out and eventually became friends, even having a feud on screen in WWE. But the real climax of their rivalry happened far from any paying crowd, in a backstage scuffle that has become the stuff of wrestling legend. We're at the halfway point, and the stories are only getting more intense. If you're enjoying this look at WWE's real-life drama, hit that like button and subscribe. Let us know in the comments which of these rivalries you remember most, because we still have 5 of history's most bitter feuds to get to. You won't want to miss it. Number 5, Matt Hardy and Edge. Some rivalries are about professional jealousy or respect, but this one is about something far more primal: love and betrayal. The story of Matt Hardy, Edge, and Lita is not just one of wrestling's biggest scandals. It's a tale of a real friendship destroyed by an affair that was then exploited for television. Matt Hardy and Lita were one of wrestling's most beloved real-life couples. Matt was also close friends with Edge, having revolutionized tag team wrestling together. In 2004, Matt was forced off the road with a severe knee injury. While he was home recovering, his girlfriend Lita began traveling from town to town with their mutual friend Edge. What started as friendship soon blossomed into a secret affair. Matt discovered their betrayal and, heartbroken and furious, went public online, exposing the affair to the wrestling world. WWE's reaction was swift and brutal. Citing unprofessional conduct, they fired Matt Hardy. The fan backlash was unlike anything seen before. Edge and Lita became the most hated villains in the company, with arenas filled with venomous chants of, "You screwed Matt, and we want Matt." The situation became so toxic that WWE had no choice but to capitalize on it. They rehired Matt Hardy, and what followed was one of the most uncomfortable and dangerously real storylines in WWE history. Matt's return was an ambush. He legitimately attacked Edge backstage, shouting his real name, Adam, on live television, blurring the lines between fiction and reality. Their subsequent matches were filled with palpable hatred. The brutal series of fights included a notable victory for Hardy at SummerSlam, but the feud culminated in a loser leaves Raw ladder match, a match they pioneered as friends, which was used to settle their personal war. Edge won that final match, but the emotional scars were real for all three involved, who have all stated how uncomfortable it was to have their personal trauma turned into a public spectacle. Number 4, Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior. Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior were two of the biggest superstars of their era. Their epic clash at WrestleMania 6 was a passing of the torch moment. But behind the larger-than-life personas were two of the biggest egos in the business, and their professional rivalry often devolved into genuine personal contempt that lasted for decades. Their relationship was always complicated, but the animosity exploded when they were both in WCW in the late 90s. Hogan had creative control, and their heavily hyped rematch at Halloween Havoc 1998 is widely regarded as one of the worst matches of all time. Warrior believed Hogan intentionally sabotaged the match to make him look bad. The fallout was nuclear, and their simmering dislike boiled over into outright hatred. For the next decade and a half, the two engaged in a bitter war of words. WWE even added fuel to the fire with the infamous 2005 DVD, the self-destruction of the Ultimate Warrior, a one-sided hit piece where numerous personalities, led by Hogan, buried Warrior's career and character. It seemed their hatred was destined to be a permanent part of their legacies. Then in 2014, the impossible happened. The Ultimate Warrior was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. That same weekend, he and Hulk Hogan came face to face. In a moment captured by WWE cameras, Hogan approached Warrior, shook his hand, and apologized. According to Hogan, they buried the hatchet right there. The timing of this reconciliation is what makes the story so poignant. Just 3 days later, after appearing at the Hall of Fame, WrestleMania, and on Monday Night Raw, the Ultimate Warrior tragically passed away. Hogan expressed his profound gratitude that they had been able to make peace in Warrior's final days. Their story ended not with a bang, but with a handshake and forgiveness. Number 3, Bret Hart and Goldberg. The animosity between Bret, the Hitman Hart, and Bill Goldberg is born from something tragic. A single moment in the ring that ended a legendary career. This isn't a story of two men who disliked each other. It's a story of one man's bitterness over a loss so profound it has haunted him for over 2 decades. In December 1999 at WCW's Starrcade, Bret Hart defended his WCW World title against Goldberg. Hart was revered as one of the safest wrestlers ever. Goldberg was known for his explosive power, but also for a more reckless style. During the match, Goldberg delivered a thrust kick to Hart's head. The kick was brutally stiff and gave Hart a severe concussion. Unaware of the injury's severity, Hart continued to wrestle over the next few days, which compounded the damage. His career was over. In the years since, Bret Hart has been unflinchingly vocal. He has repeatedly called Goldberg an unsafe and unprofessional worker, who he feels robbed him of the final years of his career. The bitterness is deep and has not faded with time. To this day, Hart speaks of the incident with a palpable sense of loss and anger. For his part, Goldberg has expressed deep remorse, stating that the kick was an accident and he would never intentionally hurt an opponent. However, after years of being the target of Bret's criticism, Goldberg's remorse has also become tinged with frustration. He has stated that he can only apologize so many times and has grown tired of Hart's constant complaints about an accident that happened decades ago. There is no resolution here, a sad, tragic tale with no easy villains, only a reminder of the very real dangers of professional wrestling. Number 2, Vince Russo and Jim Cornette. This feud has nothing to do with what happened in the ring, because neither man was a full-time wrestler. Instead, this is a war of philosophies, a battle for the very soul of professional wrestling, waged between two of the most controversial creative minds in the business, Vince Russo and Jim Cornette. Their hatred for one another is so profound and long-lasting that it has resulted in restraining orders. The conflict stems from their fundamentally opposed views on what wrestling should be. Jim Cornette is the ultimate traditionalist, believing in logical storytelling and protecting the credibility of the sport. Vince Russo, the architect of WWE's Crash TV during the Attitude Era, favored shocking swerves and outlandish storylines to grab ratings, often at the expense of logic. To Cornette, Russo represents everything wrong with modern wrestling. Their paths first crossed in WWE in the 90s, and the animosity grew when they both worked for TNA Wrestling. But the feud reached its peak after they had both left the company. On his popular podcast, Cornette would go on epic, profanity-laced tirades against Russo, even stating, "I want Vince Russo to die. If I could figure out a way to murder him without going to prison, I would consider it the greatest accomplishment of my life." In 2017, feeling that Cornette's threats were a legitimate danger to him and his family, Vince Russo filed for an official restraining order against Cornette, alleging years of stalking and harassment. How did Cornette respond? In a move of pure spite, he began selling autographed copies of the restraining order to his fans, with the proceeds going to charity. To this day, their war of words continues, a testament to how deep philosophical divides can run in this industry. Number 1, CM Punk and Triple H. Topping our list is a modern clash of egos and ideologies that redefine the line between reality and television. It's the story of an anti-establishment hero against the corporate machine he felt was holding him down. This is the bitter, real-life rivalry between CM Punk and Triple H. The feud represented a clash between two views of wrestling: Triple H, the corporate executive representing the system, and CM Punk, the fan favorite who felt the system chose stars based on their look, not their talent. The animosity was rooted in Punk's perception that Triple H, both as a competitor and later as an executive, never truly saw him as a top-tier star and actively worked against him. This simmered until June 27, 2011, when Punk, sitting on the Raw stage, delivered the now infamous pipe bomb promo. He aired legitimate grievances against the company, Vince McMahon, and specifically named Triple H, blurring the lines of reality in a way not seen in years. This very real tension was quickly turned into a storyline, culminating in a match at Night of Champions 2011, which Triple H won. For Punk, this was the ultimate proof of his argument that even when he was the hottest act in the business, Triple H wouldn't let him have the spotlight. Years later, Punk stated on a podcast that he told Triple H directly, "I seriously resent you for not putting me over 3 years ago when you should have." The bitterness was compounded by creative frustrations and health issues, leading to Punk walking out of WWE in 2014. For years, the two remained on opposite sides of a deep divide, with Punk famously receiving his termination papers from WWE on his wedding day. It seemed like a bridge that was permanently burned. However, nearly a decade later, with Triple H in charge of WWE Creative, the impossible happened. CM Punk made a shocking return in 2023, and both men have since spoken about their ability to now work together, acknowledging their past friction, but crediting their mutual growth for the reconciliation. And there you have it, 10 stories proving that the lines between script and reality in wrestling are often non-existent. Behind the spectacle lies a world of real human emotion, complex relationships, and bitter conflicts. From commentary desk disputes to backstage brawls and personal betrayals. These rivalries were fueled by something more potent than any script. They were fueled by genuine, real-life animosity. These stories remind us that the performers are not just characters. They are people with egos, ambitions, and vulnerabilities. And sometimes, when the pressure is highest, the curtain is pulled back, and we get a glimpse of the unfiltered truth behind the business we love. The next time you watch two superstars tear each other apart, you might just wonder, how much of this is real? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into wrestling's most infamous real-life feuds. If you want more behind-the-scenes stories from WWE, make sure to subscribe and ring the notification bell so you never miss a video. Drop a comment below and let us know which other real-life rivalries you want us to explore next. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.